Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Midnight Frightcast, episode number 36. I am one of your hosts, Josh. Sitting across the table from me is the Doctor of Filmonomics, Greg the Movie Guy.
We need to watch more movies, stat.
And
I like how you say that he's sitting across the table from you when actually it's just a talking head on the iPad.
He kind of is, though. I mean, I can see him. He's across the table. To my left.
Which left is that?
To my right. Fuck. This is going to be a fun podcast already. To my right is the Doctor of everything else, Patrick. To my left, for her first Frightcast, and hopefully not her last after this fiasco, we got Maddy joining us tonight.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, we are excited to have you join the group.
Yeah, I think I'm the first woman that's ever answered an ad on the internet to hang out in someone's basement who's lived through it, so I'm pretty excited.
Well, the podcast isn't over yet. It's just starting. We got a whole hour. Maddy, what are we supposed to do here?
I mean, we talked to a few people about joining us here on the podcast. I don't want to say we settled on you because... Because actually, we're truly excited to have you as part of the group. And we asked you a bunch of questions while you were here. And one of them was, what attracts you to horror film and actually wanted to be part of this podcast? And I'm just throwing you to the wolves here right now and having you talk a little bit about that.
Well, I had very lax parents, so I started watching horror movies at about 8, and I have watched them ever since. I love horror movies. It's about 97% of what I watch. And I wanted to come and talk to somebody about the stuff I watch because therapists are expensive.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you could just sit there and talk to yourself, but, you know.
Yeah, then the therapist would be even more needed.
Yeah.
That's how good horror movies are made.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm excited to have Maddy. I'm excited to have a new voice to the podcast. I think is going to be a nice little fresh
point of view.
Yeah. So yeah, and she'll probably just be like, she'll school the shit out of us anyway.
Right. And quite frankly, I think we were tired of it just being a sausage party here all the time.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to do a little bit of, our topic tonight is best opening sequences, which is kind of a cool topic that Patrick came up with last week. And our feature tonight is going to be talking about the movie, Hight Tension. But before we get to that is, Greg is going to take us through some news. Go for it, Gregory.
It's the news.
Are you going to put like a cool like music sequence? Because that's not going to work.
What did I just do?
That was not, we got to figure something out for that, Patrick.
We'll see what
I will try new ones every time we do this. I will try a new one.
We edit that podcast and we will edit that out. Go, Greg.
All right. So, first article that I came across here in the news in the horror genre, Paramount Michael Bay developing horror movie Meet Jimmy. That is M-E-E-T, not ribeye steak Meet Jimmy. So
thank you, Greg, for the clarity.
I want to be true and I want to be clear. So I came across this article and it got me thinking because I remembered that Michael Bay had done was a producer on A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
And seeing that he's now doing this production for Meet Jimmy, is Michael Bay leaving the horror genre and tempting his fate in the horror genre?
You just said, is he leaving the horror genre and tempting his fate in the horror genre?
Action. I meant action. Okay. My bad.
Or did he say
I am one beer
genre?
in for
the horror genre.
I don't think he's going that way. But what are your guys' thoughts on hearing this?
It scares me to death. So maybe he's accomplished what he wanted to do without even making a movie.
Yeah, right. I mean, as Michael, I'm not excited about anything that Michael Bay ever, I don't hear his name and get really excited about the stuff he puts out. I know he was a producer on A Quiet Place, but what did he really do for that movie?
Mm-hmm. The explosions.
That was the explosions. That was all John Krasinski as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, what I could see the benefit of him doing is just throwing a lot of money at it.
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean? Can he tell a good story or not? There's no substance to his movies right now other than pure action.
He's pretty much ruined every 80s baby's childhood.
So he's basically just coattailing on this genre and trying to keep himself relevant in whatever is going on here. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Do you have any details on that movie, Greg, besides Michael Bay? I mean, is there any, like, do they give you info?
Did they say who's playing Jimmy's meat?
What it's about? We'll start with what it's
Vin
about.
Diesel is playing Jimmy's meat? I don't know. They really didn't give a lot of content to what the movie's going to be about.
Oh,
just
perfect.
more of...
I said, oh, perfect. His movies don't have any content anyway, so
sounds
I
about
think
right.
you
So he's
probably
right
have
on
the
par
plot.
from-
Yeah, you have the plot right there.
No, just more of like who's directing, who's writing, who else is producing. And I don't know, it's just the Michael Bay and the horror genre kind of, it's like oil and water for me.
Jimmy's Meat will be played by The Rock, by the way.
Jimmy's meat.
Nice.
Oh, great. All right. In the next article that I found, Stephen King's Dr. Sleep movie will be very faithful to the novel. I'm intrigued by this because I love the movie The Shining, and I know, Patrick, you're the only one who has who's actually read Dr. Sleep, but you weren't a fan, correct?
Okay, this will be my issue with it, is that people are going to want to connect the two. The movie The Shining, which was so separate from what the book was, to the movie Dr. Sleep, which they're saying is going to try to adhere to the book as much as possible.
Right.
So then you have two dramatically different interpretations of Stephen King novelizations. Second thing is Dr. Sleep did not impress me all that much. It was fine as a book. I don't see how they could follow the book as closely as possible and make it an interesting movie.
Have any of his movies tied that closely to his books? I mean, is there really an accurate...
1922. It's like
1920
word for word.
Gerald's
Really?
Game is close too, right?
okay.
The problem with Stephen King, if they try to adhere to the book too closely, then you're stuck with a lot of boring dialogue because he doesn't write dialogue for movies. He writes dialogue for books.
Yeah.
And with the books, he's able to back up that dialogue with a bunch of thought process before the character speaks.
Yeah.
So he's book smart versus being...
Yeah, definitely.
smart more.
Definitely. So
Okay.
it takes someone like a Darren Bott or something like that that can take the source material and make it into a really good movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like Stephen King
Interesting.
movies are so hit or miss. Like there are some that are great, and then there are
Then there's Maximum Overdrive.
then there's Maximum Overdrive.
Right.
Some people would say that's great. Just so you know, there's people out there that will fight you for those words. Just saying.
Okay.
But Gerald's Game, I
Don't
thought
fight us.
Now,
Yeah.
now, who's directing that? Because you had mentioned it was...
I can't remember his name, but it's
You
the
had
same guy that
mentioned it last
did
time.
Gerald's Game.
Right. And I love Gerald's Game.
Whose
thought that
name
was a
I
really
can't
good-
think
I
of.
thought that was a really good
He did
movie.
Hush
Right.
also.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his...
So it may end
name.
up being a good interpretation of Dr. Sleep, which I would appreciate.
He seems to really like get Stephen King's material, though.
Mike Flanagan is the director.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Okay.
He seems to get that content.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm always interested to see what people do with Stephen King stuff.
All right, and then for number 3, the last one that I found here, this is just a fun one that I came across, but do you guys collect or do you have any of the Funko Pop vinyl little figures at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Awesome. I've got a...
Awesome.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
But there's no opening.
Sorry, Greg. You're not even here tonight and we're beating on you.
Right? I've got a small collection, and I'm actually looking to grow that collection because I think they're really cool little figures. And this, I swear to God, what?
Nothing. I used to make fun of people that collect those, and now I actually I collect them.
I've got a small collection, but I'm looking to grow that collection.
Keep going, Greg. We're sorry, buddy. Keep going.
You guys are evil. So, Funko is going to be releasing Sackhead Jason and Blood Splatter Michael Pops coming very soon.
Ooh.
So, if you're fans of the horror genre, which I know at least 4 people here, something to consider.
Some of that to your
Adding
collection.
to your collection. That is what I've got for the news.
Cool. Yeah. So we're gonna go straight into what we've been watching,
watching.
right? Yeah. Cool. Maddie, do you want to start?
Sure. I'll probably disappoint you guys. I had a midterm this week, so the only thing I really watched was my life flashing before my eyes. And then I watched our feature, but
How was the first thing?
You know what? From what I understand, that's more than what Greg did.
That's
yes, I'm one up.
I'll take that.
All right.
true. Greg, what did you watch this week?
So I haven't been able to watch a lot of movies. I've got my parents in town, and we've been doing some work in our basement. But last Saturday night, Emily and I got to go see somebody that I've been wanting to see for a long, long time. We got to go see Gabriel Iglesias, a comedian who's hilarious.
Fluffy.
Fluffy, yes. He's known as Fluffy.
Fluffy? That's his
Why?
stage name?
Yeah, well, he's a big fat dude. So sometimes people call fat people, me, Fluffy.
Fluffy.
So I've been called Fluffy
I
before.
thought you were called a fluffer.
Well, I've been called that. I've been called that before too.
Right.
Usually that job goes to Greg, but sometimes Greg can't always show up. So this segment sucks right now because nobody's watching anything. Patrick, did you watch anything this week?
You know what? I did watch something this week.
I can't wait to hear about it.
I watched a couple of movies, but that's not what I'm going to promote because I always said that I want to save this one for something that I would suggest to other people watch. But the newest season of Orange is the New Black dropped on Netflix, and I am addicted to that show. And I'm just keeping myself from binge watching it because that's what I do every single time. And then I have to wait months upon months upon months for the next season. So I'm trying to space this out just a little bit. So
Go ahead,
Orange
Greg.
is the
Yes,
New
Greg.
Black on Netflix.
I have questions. When I watched the last season, I think it was season 5, wasn't it?
Yes.
When I watched season 5, I was highly disappointed. How is it turning out so far?
I'm only 2 episodes in, and I really like it so far because they are in a maximum security prison now. They got moved out of the old one into a really, really tough prison.
Okay. I'm excited to check that out then.
Yep. So Orange is the New Black,
Is that it, Patrick?
streaming on Netflix. Yep.
All right, cool. Because we kind of missed 2 films in our what we've been watching sequence, I'm going to go back really quick to news. And sorry, Maddie, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying we didn't talk about them. Some things in news that I wanted to talk about tonight, though, really quick, though, that I forgot about and I just remembered was so Walking Dead season 9 is about
That's a
to
good
kick
guess.
off. You're a watcher of that show,
I am a watcher of it.
Patrick. So the news about Rick Grimes, I can't think of his name, not coming back after this season.
Right.
I just want to get your thoughts on that really quick. Do you think the show is going to live any longer without him?
It's really going to struggle with just Norman Reedus leading the group,
Yeah.
I think, because
Do you watch Walking Dead, Maddie?
No.
No.
because
Okay. Well, I
because
thought-
Rick Grimes is such an integrated part of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about Rick Grimes more than anything else. So they're really going to struggle. I think I probably see it lasting one more season after he's done.
Gotcha. And the other thing I wanted to throw out too was the announcement that we have to wait till summer of 2019 to get Stranger Things season 3, which really sucks.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. Do you watch that? Have you watched that, Maddie?
No, I don't watch that either.
Why-
Okay, that's all right.
What's the holdup on it?
I have no idea what the holdup is. I just know that they've shot a bunch of it.
No.
I don't know.
I mean, because part of the problem with working with kids is they grow up so freaking
Yeah.
fast. I mean, it's like they're going to be in season 5 and they're going to be at college. You
Yeah.
know?
And I know one of them is at least they were dual filming because they were in it
Right.
part 2 as well.
Yeah.
So that might have been an issue as well.
Could be.
Did you say summer 2019?
Yes.
Do you think they're trying to stagger it with Game of Thrones because it's their final season? Maybe they don't want to release it when you have another huge release coming out.
Maybe. I mean, last year they dropped it right around Halloween.
Yeah.
And Walking Dead was going on.
And because
at that point
since
as
one's on
well.
HBO and one's on Netflix, I don't think it's really a.
I don't know which one.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that I don't think they serve the same audiences, maybe.
Maybe.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, my brain just went left for a second. I'll come back. What we've been watching. So because our feature was so it lived in such a bloody area this week, which we don't really travel into very often, I was priming myself with something else. So I watched, I'm going to get shit on. Just wait for the bomb to just drop. So I watched 31, Patrick. He's writing,
no,
so
you're
never
not,
mind.
I'm not gonna.
Nothing?
I found 31 interesting.
Okay, well, we guys, Rob's, you've been.
It's Rob Zombie.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the old dump.
No, it's
So-
what I expected from Rob Zombie, which is a dump.
So yeah, I watched 31. This movie holds up. I still really enjoy it. It's not the best of his movies. It's not the worst of his movies. I would definitely check out 31 if you can find it streaming somewhere.
Right.
So I watched 31. It was a good time.
All right.
I like that movie. So
Of the Rob Zombie movies, where would you put that? I mean, if you had a top 5. I mean, he's probably made 5, but
yeah. So it'd probably go Devil's Rejects, Halloween, House of Thousand Corpses, 31.
okay. All right.
So I can't do Lords of Salem. I just can't do it anymore. I've tried. I finished it. It's just dog shit. I can't do it. So anyway, that's what we've been watching. Kind of. We kind of watched some things this week. So the sequence that we're the kind of the new thing we're going to do this week, the topic, Patrick should introduce because it was his topic.
Well, that's something I kind of ran across while we were researching stuff for Halloween. because Halloween was listed as one of these things. And so the topic this week is the best horror film opening scenes.
Yeah.
But we would throw out some thoughts about what we thought were some of the best opening scenes that really captured us, pulled us into the movie.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking to myself, maybe it didn't even need to pull us into the movie, but maybe it could have sat there as a short film itself. You know, that type of thing, because the movie didn't have to be great.
I think a strong opening sequence really sucks. Like, the rest of the movie could suck, really, but if you got a strong, like, opener, it's gonna power through that movie.
Right.
So, Greg, you want to start?
I don't have to start, but I can.
Yeah, start, Greg.
All right. I'll go down my list of 14 that I have.
Do we want to go? Okay, so
We did not have 14.
we did not
I was
talk about
kidding.
this.
I've got seven.
We do this every single time. Are we going to round robin, or are we just going to go through our five?
Let's
Go through the five.
Let's go through the
our
five.
Okay, that's cool. Go, Greg.
All right. So first on my list, I'm going to throw out as an honorable mention
Of course, Greg's at
is the
7.
intro scene. What?
Nothing. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. Is the intro opening scene to Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. I thought it was just a great setup to something that wasn't expected, because that was his very first movie ever done. You knew how weird Rob Zombie was, but you didn't know how far the pendulum was going to swing on that. And I think he set it up just perfect for his entire career. So that's my honorable mention. I follow that with the opening scene to Ghost Ship.
Okay. Keep going, Greg.
Was that an honorable mention as well?
I'll tag it at number 5.
Okay.
I like how everything was set up. I liked everything that they did to do what they did. I really wish the movie had been better, but I think the opening sequence of that is far superior to the rest of the movie. So I just like that one.
It's got that cool, like, wire cutting sequence, right?
Right, that's the way it
the opening
opens,
sequence? Yeah.
Yep. I'm following that with the opening sequence to the movie Wrong Turn. Again, just really liked how it set it up. Really gives you that sense of mystery and terror of what the hell is on the top of the hill and all that. So Wrong Turn was number 4. Following that with 2005's Dawn of the Dead. I don't know that I can say much more, except I really liked it, and I thought it was a really good opening sequence. Especially like the scene where she is driving off down the road and they do that full pullback and you see the explosions and the rest of the world going into mayhem. Number 2, I have 1978's Halloween. I really liked the first-person camera setup that they did behind the mask and how everything evolved from that. And then finally, I think the one that's going to be on everybody's list is the opening scene to Scream.
Potatoes, man. Potatoes. Because you just took 2 of mine. So
He's got a couple of mine as well. So
cool.
I'm going to jump in then. My honorable mention as well was Ghost Ship. I mean, it was a suck-ass movie, but
Yes.
but it was a memorable opening. You've never seen such a mass murder at one time.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then just watching these people just slide off their bodies and stuff like that after they've been cut through, it was just pretty cool opening. My other honorable mention was Twilight Zone, the movie.
Okay.
It's the opening where Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd are sitting there and talking back and forth, and the radio cuts out, so they're forced to talk to each other. And he says, "Oh, you want to see something really scary? Have you guys ever seen this movie?"
I don't remember.
Oh, you need to see that opening scene. So those are my 2 honorable mentions.
Twilight Zone.
Greg had already mentioned Dawn of the Dead. The reason I enjoyed that opening so much is, one, it was pretty much nonstop, but it also introduced the new type of zombie. Because these were fast-paced zombies. They were running and all sorts of shit. So that one really stuck with me. I agree with Halloween because of the POV of the killer. Also with the reveal of him being a kid. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, yes. Good call.
Scream. Yes, you said that was going to be in there. But because of the fact this was a 13-minute intro, I mean, you were already almost a quarter of the way into this movie.
Yeah,
or
your
not
first
a quarter,
act is pretty
but-
much done.
Yeah,
That far in.
and it also introduced a brand new killer, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So then my 2 then that are unique so far is Jaws. We got that.
Yeah.
We got
Jaws.
the big shark.
Motherfucker.
Did I grab one of yours?
That's
there?
right. I'm not going to have anything to talk
All right.
about. Let's do this.
And
Cool.
And to me, these are synonymous. You can pick either one. The sewer scene.
Yeah, that's a good sequence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I had that on my list as well, and just for the sake of I didn't want to have too many on there, but I think it's an iconic scene. I mean,
Yeah.
Either one.
That's why I said you can use either one, because Tim Curry's was just as effective as Skarsgård's. So.
No, I will fight there, because
I mean,
let's be honest. That's that new sequence where he rips the arm off of Georgie was way.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if you take it into consideration when the first It came out,
yeah, it was made
your
for TV.
age then and everything else. I mean, it was still pretty damn effective.
Yeah.
So,
Maddy, you want to go?
Sure.
Since mine are all gone.
I actually only had one that Greg took. I love the opening scene of House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yay!
Absolute, but House of a Thousand Corpses is also one of my favorite movies, so I probably would have thrown it up there anyway. I think number 5 on my list was Hellraiser. I love that entire movie, but just that first sequence is so cool. I love the opening scene in Saw, the original one, just because I love that it loops back at the end and you're forced to think back.
Right.
So I guess it's not the opening scene itself, just kind of the connection with it. Number 3 is Cigarette Burns by John Carpenter.
I do not know that one.
It was part of the Masters of Horror series, where they had a bunch of people. I think it was the only decent one that was made, to be honest.
Watch that one.
It's really cool.
I've been watching the Masters of Horror lately.
Yeah, that one's good. As I said, House of a Thousand Corpses. And then my number 1 is definitely Martyrs. That's sitting on the table right there.
Yay.
It's such a kick in the teeth, and I think it really just introduces how brutal that the movie is. So I just love that it just starts out with just a blast in the face.
And I'm really excited. I can't wait to watch this thing. I'll go really quick because I only got like 2 left. So I wrote down, in no particular order, any Final Destination movie, any opening sequence.
That's
any
kind of
Final
formulaic, right? I mean, take a car, replace it with a roller coaster, replace it with a cruise ship.
So any one of those. I'm not a fan of the series, but I know that those kick off for anybody that watches those movies. Those kind of kick off pretty fast. Kind of get you into it really quick. Mm-hmm. The other one that nobody mentioned for me was It Follows. Yep. And I hate that movie. Let me just throw that out there really quick, because I hate that movie. But the opening sequence, the way it sets up what like the pacing of the movie is going to be, and just what exactly you are dealing with.
Well, because the camera follows her around. She's running around the street in high heels, and then runs back into the house, and then jumps in the car.
Yep. And then, ends up on the beach with her leg
in a
bent all the way
backwards. Yeah.
I fucking hate that movie so much. I think I've said it on this podcast 100 times, and I'll keep saying it. But the opening sequence set a nice pace. And then the 3 that were stolen from me, but I will happily mention again, Jaws. That opening sequence for that time, and just the fact that you see nothing is just terrifying. Yeah. That whole scene where she's holding onto the thing in the water,
the buoy,
is just terrifying. Watching him drag her around.
Right.
Everybody mentioned Scream. That's just, to me, that was a given. We've already talked about that. I don't need to talk about that anymore. My favorite of all of them, though, as far as opening sequences go, was Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. That pace and what it set up, and that sequence where they have that long shot down the hallway, and it's that girl at the end of the hall, and she runs and the door's shut, and she kind of kicks up or whatever, and that whole thing is just, I love that movie just overall. Right. Anyway, but the pace of that opening sequence is just fire.
I also found it amazing how quickly the husband turned.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you expect a lengthy amount of time, but no, and then boom, he was up attacking and everything else.
So that opening sequence is just straight fire.
So from the tally that we have, there were 2 movies that actually had 3 tallies. The rest of them had either 2 or 1. Dawn of the Dead and Scream tied for first. So there you are.
Yeah.
That's our topic.
Cool.
You know what's cool about this topic is because now we've got a new topic for some time, which is best endings to a horror movie.
That's right.
So
happy endings to a horror movie. All right.
And we all like happy endings.
Josh's favorite.
Yeah. But since you mentioned Martyrs, I'm really excited about checking out Martyrs, and I'll hopefully share that down the line.
Well, it is one of the most ferocious horror films ever made, according to fearnet.com.
Yeah.
It's fun.
All right.
I'm excited. So let's get to our feature, because I don't know how much time we got left.
Yeah, we're at that time.
We need to get crack-a-lacking on this. So when we talked to Maddy, we did this whole thing about the Mount Rushmore of horror filmmakers, whatever, and Alejandro Aja was on her list, and then she mentioned Hight Tension. And as we kind of got through our meeting and everything, we kind of decided what we should watch, and then realized that you and Greg had never seen Hight Tension. I love that movie. That was on her list. So our feature tonight is Hight Tension.
And I've got notes up the wahoo.
And before we get into the notes, because I know Greg doesn't have any, do you want to tell us what Hight Tension's about?
Hight Tension, which originally was released in France in 2003, in the States in 2005 with a horrible, horrible name of Switchblade Romance, which they then changed to Hight Tension. Best friends Marie and Alexia decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse. But on the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror when a homicidal delivery man arrives at the house. On IMDb, 6.8 with a Metascore of 42. Rotten Tomato critic score of 40%, but the audience seemed to enjoy it with a 67% rating.
That's a lot higher than I would have thought.
Really? That's low for me. I thought that was low.
It fits in about right where I thought it would be.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Greg, what about you?
Yes.
Well, then this discussion could be good.
Right.
I don't know who wants to kick it off. I know you have notes. I can throw out my really quick 2 cents, and then I'll happily, Patrick's got a page and a half. I don't know what Maddy brought, but for me, I'll just throw out my real quick 2 cents, and then we can pass it on to the people who did their homework. So I know I've seen this movie a handful of times, so I know that I understand that this movie doesn't work. So I get that out of the gate. Okay. I get it. So what my questions for this movie are, is this movie shot from Marie's point of view, but do we see it from Alexa's point of view? Or Alex's point of view? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. Patrick's just waiting to get in there.
Well, I am, because I've got plenty of notes at the end of my other notes that addresses a lot of this. I'm really excited to talk about this one, by the way.
Yeah. No, okay. Let me get this out. This last little thing out. So the guy at the beginning, I don't know. The guy with the head at the beginning of the movie in the truck.
Right. And once again, audience, this movie came out in 2005 in the United
spoilers.
States, so there is spoilers up
Yeah.
but there's nothing, that we can't talk about.
Again, the sequence doesn't work, but it's nicely gross, and it's visually, fun to look at. So I'm just throwing that out there. Again, my last little thing is I get that this movie doesn't work. Who wants to go?
I'll go ahead and jump in. No, I don't think it works either. There are plot holes that you could drive a truck through. Speaking of which, that truck in there, I think if you buy one of those, you should automatically put on the sex offender registry. Everybody that's had one of those creepy trucks has always been a creeper.
Either that or mark the side with ice cream symbols and stuff like that.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
you shouldn't be within 1,000 feet of a school if you have one of those. No, I think this is a really fun movie. I enjoy watching it, but at the same time, every time I do watch it, I feel like I'm looking for something that kind of ties it together or makes it make sense, and I've never found it.
Can't find it.
But I love that murder scene in the house, when just shit's going down. I think it's so, I don't want to say creepy, but there's something about it that's kind of disturbing because it is more realistic than a monster coming in.
Do you mean the murder scenes as a collective?
Yes,
or did you
as
have
a
one
collective.
specific?
No, as a
Okay.
collective. I just think that whole scene in the house where they're, just fucking shit up, I think is just absolutely amazing because it is creepy. There have been times where people have just busted into people's houses and just had this huge massacre. And I think that alone kind of makes this movie effective, even if nothing else works, because it kind of brings that more realistic kind of element to it, as opposed to oh, here comes Jason,
Yeah.
your buddy. Here comes Jason.
Your buddy.
Jason or Michael.
Jason or Michael, one of those guys.
I just call him Jamichael.
But I don't know. I just love that more realistic sequence, even though I do think the effects are kind of awful.
That spot where he pops his head off with the cabinet,
With the cabinet?
is the worst.
Yeah,
effects I
some
think
of the
I've
worst
seen.
effects.
It's awful.
But
It's terrible, but it's still.
But the thing is, I've seen worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
You
it's-
know,
they blended the edges, I guess. But it was still,
yeah.
it was still just a little rough to watch. But I watch for that stuff, and I'm kind of a stickler about it.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't think this movie was made with like $5, so
No.
I kind of expected
Yeah.
them to pony up a little bit more, but who knows? Maybe they were having some budget issues with that creepy truck.
And the more I read about it, this was like an introduction of this type of horror to France.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was one of the first people to do this type of horror. So maybe maybe it was approached with the idea of, we don't know what we're doing yet, but we're going to try to make it work as well as possible.
Which is funny because this is actually one of my introductions to more extreme horror movies, and it's just been a rabbit hole since. And the FBI is going to come to my house real soon. But like, I think you're right, and I think it was pretty effective because France has put out some consistently just bomb horror movies,
Yeah.
and they have been a little more extreme than what's been coming out. I feel like.
Definitely over here. Yeah. Keep going, Maddie. Or you got?
Is that your thoughts?
I'm just really excited to
Yeah.
see that
Okay,
page of notes.
This
Yeah.
is I will say I watched this movie and I enjoyed this movie and I was angry at this movie. Okay.
Yay. Anger.
Yeah.
I had this such a weird, I watched it last night, had my headphones on, watching on my iPad, and it made me think about it all freaking day to day. And that's part of, because I was so angry. I was like, fucking plot holes and all this other fucking shit, and god damn it, I need, and then because I was thinking about it all day, I had this overwhelming sense of deja vu that I've seen this movie before. And that was pissing me off. But the more I read about it and everything else, I started finding some answers that maybe I'd like to see what your guys' responses are to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of go through with my notes as I was watching the movie, because that's what I do. I'll watch it and write something down as I'm going on. I thought it had an extremely strong opening. With Marie running through the woods to get help. She's being chased. You don't know what's going on. She bangs on the window of this car. And then immediately it flips over to what was going on before this. So it was kind of a Tarantino setup type thing. Let's work our way from the back to the front.
But it does give you the end of that movie at the beginning of that movie. Because it does show her sitting in that mental hospital.
Right, which is
before it
going
goes to that
to be
sequence.
important to my comments later.
Okay, sorry.
No. But I agree that, she's sitting there in the hospital,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it is, and it's a camera, and one of the first things she says is, are we rolling, or whatever she said.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I thought it was a great example of starting with the end. It was a dubbed hybrid, which kind of bothered me. I would rather watch and read subtitles than listening to, because Greg had this complaint about it, was that it didn't match the lips. And that always bugs me on things like that. But there was enough of it that was in French with subtitles and everything else. The bit where Coveralls McRapey literally got head in the...
Coveralls McRapey. Yeah.
Great. That's
what I
name
refer to him
now.
now as Coveralls McRapey. That he literally got head in that truck at the starting of the film. I totally did not expect him to drop a severed head out. This is a question that I have, though, because if you look at it, the head looks like Alexia, which to me is a plot hole later on.
God, I didn't even look at it that close.
Okay,
I think I read something that it was actually like a cast of the director's head, but I could be wrong. Which makes it worse.
Yeah.
I had a question about the point of the cornfield scene when they stop the car. She goes running out in the cornfield, and the other Marie starts chasing her out in the cornfield, and then Alexia jumps in the car and tries driving off without her. What was the point of that other than just
filler?
It was
filler,
just,
tension, whatever like that. Speaking of tension, I feel that the name of the film was an apt description of the movie itself. I felt tension throughout the entire thing.
That cornfield sequence, I think, is an attempt to build their relationship and their friendship. Even though I kind of feel like they already touched on that.
They already
the car
did that in the
ride.
car driving up because they were
just
talking.
the way they talk to each other.
Yeah.
Kind of already established.
Yeah. Even with the conversations in the house where Alexia is talking about, she prefers men who are already committed and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like they were really open about their friendship. Just some subtle things that bothered me. When they were in the house, it was like super windy. You could hear all the wind, but when she went outside to have a cigarette, there was no wind whatsoever, and just little inconsistencies like that.
I didn't notice that.
It's my attention to detail that drives me crazy. At first I wrote, was the masturbation necessary?
Yeah.
Well, for you it was. No, I meant the masturbation in the movie.
No, it probably didn't.
Yeah,
need
probably.
To be there.
But when you think about the twist later on, I think there's an answer to that.
Oh, good point.
Okay, so we'll come back. We'll circle back around.
Yeah,
to that
let's
once we
revisit the
cover
masturbation.
twist. Yeah, we'll revisit masturbation together.
Together, okay.
This isn't what I signed up.
Then it's not quite. It's still masturbation, I guess. The decapitation kill I found was interesting. It's not one I'd seen before. So
Yeah. Do you feel
I
like
kind of wondered if it was like physically possible.
it's not. There's no way one time.
no.
I mean, she would have had to knock him against the head at least a few times
Yeah.
to knock the head
Yeah.
off his shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Let me try it.
I just made a note. Says, "Oh, not much story to this." I just dove right in, which is fine because
Yeah.
that's what the story is. Little things like how did Alexia not hear a thing going on when the
She
dad was
had
being
earbuds in.
murdered and the mom was screaming and the dog was barking and
Yeah,
She
that
did
was something I didn't get.
She
yeah.
had earbuds in.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
But
she
still,
had like
I-
either cotton or earbuds in her ears.
Okay.
You could see them.
I feel
Alright.
like if
Yeah.
someone's like screaming literally bloody murder,
yeah, you'd still be able to hear.
if
it.
not, I want those headphones.
I love movies that make me jump, and there was a couple places in this movie that made me jump, and one of them was the mom's last
Yeah.
right before she whispered something to Marie, and that got me.
Why do you think she cut her hand off, though? That I thought was really random. Like, she'd already cut her neck open, and then they
Yeah.
kind of show, like, a severed hand, like, hanging out over there. And I was like, why did you do that?
It was the hand, I think, with the phone
With
in
the
it.
phone,
the
in
phone
it.
in it?
I don't. She wasn't going to be able to call anybody. So.
Yeah.
I will
She
have
was
to say I
bleeding
did
out.
not notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
so
just
I'm going to have to go back and
hanging
look
out
at
over
that.
there.
All right.
The jumps, going back to the jumps real quick,
Yeah.
Patrick, there was one spot, and it's at the very end of the movie when she's asking, can she see me? And the girl, Marie, looks up at the glass and then she just puts her hands out. For some reason, it got me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Captain
a
McBoopy
few
Pants.
places like we go back into Alexia's room and she's tied up with a chain and all this. You didn't see the guy carry a chain in. You didn't see him go back out to the car to get it or anything like that. I thought that was a little odd. The photo collection on the rearview mirror I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
Because then you see like 16 different women that this has happened to. So then you wonder if, when the twist happens, does that still carry over?
Yeah. I think it added some depth to it, like, so you weren't thinking
Right.
something like that could happen.
Yeah. I want the key fob, by the way. That little character, his logo on the side of the truck and the key fob with a smiley face. I don't know why. It just looked really cool. Poor Jimmy. Jimmy was the gas station attendant.
Yeah.
And he was talking to the guy, and the guy saying, I bet you bring women in here all the time. He goes, well, no, if I did that, I'd get fired. Well, you know what? He got the axe either way.
Okay.
Oh.
There's the joke
Yep.
and the setup and the hit.
I wrote squatter toilets, yuck. They're gross. They splash. Anyway,
Oh, my God.
I love that they use Muse in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a great song.
Yeah.
Newborn was the name of the song.
Yep.
Anytime anybody uses Muse. There was the car chase scene. How did he know about the gun? Why did he not take the gun and not just the bullets? Because he's dropping the bullets out the window and she looks in the gun. There's no bullets, blah, blah, blah. And then I had a question about what the plastic place. After the crash happens, she goes running into the woods and there's all this plastic. I didn't know what it was for like the first 3 minutes until they'd had an overhead shot. And I said, oh, it's a fucking greenhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it made sense. I laughed when she was doing the do-it-yourself Lucille. For those of you who don't watch Walking Dead, Lucille's a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when she's making that post and wrapping it in barbed wire.
That's like one of my favorite scenes in that movie.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
awesome.
know why.
And then My very next note was, what the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck?
Okay, so explain what the fuck.
What the fuck is when they the cops went to the gas station and started watching the footage.
Okay.
And then it's revealed there is no killer, that it is Marie, and all this shit is in her head. So that was the what the fuck moment for me, and it carried through, and that's where I'm going, plot hole, fucking plot hole, fucking
yeah, that's
plot
where
hole,
it just doesn't work. It
that
doesn't
it falls
fit anymore.
apart. And at that point, I wrote, well, instead of Muse, they needed Guns N' Roses to sing "Take Me Down to Plot Hole City."
Jesus Christ! I like how Greg's over there laughing and looking at his phone, and didn't watch the movie.
Well, he could still enjoy.
Take me down to Plot Hole City.
So that took me to the end of the movie. So let's talk about what didn't work and how I think I have a way that makes it work.
Okay, yay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
I think what didn't work for me is there was just way too many details about, what did you call him? Stabby McRaperson or something?
Coverall McRapey.
Coverall McRapey. You kind of are like, what are you doing in your head, girl, that you have made this person so detailed and so just out there? I think that was something that kind of threw me off. And then there was just a bunch of stuff that, okay, if it was one person and not two people, how did this car chase happen, and how did these interactions and then how did this like tiny little French girl like slaughter a whole family? I was just
but
like,
she
what
was
is this?
cut though.
She was, but still, once again, going back to the, is it possible to smash someone's head off with a cabinet?
Once again, not on the first hit, I don't think.
Yeah.
We'll try this later.
Yeah.
We'll try this later.
We've got some testing to do.
Surely it can be done.
So that's what bothered you.
Yeah, I think that's what bothered me. Is just
Yeah, I like I said, I've seen this movie a handful of times, so I've tried to I try to watch around it.
Right.
I try to go, that doesn't, like that guy in the overalls, this doesn't really exist. So I can just watch around it. I enjoy the movie, so I try to just pretend they're not there. Does that work for me?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. As I said, I think it's a fun movie. Just because it doesn't work, it's still fun to watch and take in.
I enjoyed the twist. It really, really caught me off guard. I was not expecting it. And because of that, the fact that it appears they didn't even try to explain it, that's what made me angry initially. Okay. And so for me, the more I thought about it, the only way this movie works is if this is a story being told completely by Marie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe it's set up that way because the very first scene takes place in the hospital. They pan over her shoulder and you can see the camera with the red light. And she's whispering to herself. She's saying, I won't let anyone come between us anymore. I won't let anybody come between us anymore. And then she breaks out of the whisper and says, are they recording? And I think for her, that's showtime. And she tells this elaborate story. And I think that's what we see all the way through, is this incredibly elaborate story. I do, however, think they showed that video security tape too soon in the movie. They should have saved it for a little bit later because that's where it became a little convoluted. And how I feel this works then is that with the director, Alexandra Aja, is such a fan of horror movies and slashers and stuff like that. If you go back and look at this movie, a lot of these scenes are homages to other things. So I started looking at it. Okay, so here she is. There's this crazy chick. She's in front of a camera. She's telling this story. So she's filling in all these other areas with things that she's seen before. So we've got Halloween, because Coveralls McRapey kind of resembles Michael Myers with the coveralls and everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The movie Joyride, because he kind of acts like Rusty Nail.
Yeah, I can
from
see
Joyride.
that.
Okay. Jeepers Creepers, same truck, almost the same truck. If
That's
you
true.
compare the two of them.
Yeah.
Maniac, the bathroom scene. There's a stalking scene in the film Maniac that is so similar to this one.
Okay.
Dean Koontz's intensity is covered almost half the movie in this movie. So I can tell there's a lot of influence there. Razor blades are common in a lot of things, most commonly Last House on the Left.
Okay.
There's a movie called Torso, where she makes the bed and hides all of her things and stuff like that, which Marie did in this one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Mm-hmm. We've got that final scene.
That's fantastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is
I
a
love
scene.
that.
And then Blue Velvet from Inside the Closet is almost shot for shot with this one. So I'm starting to think, okay, so she's telling this story, and when she needs to elaborate, she's thinking, oh, I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this, and that's where she fills in all this stuff. And this entire movie is her story directly to the camera. So that's
a good point.
That's how this movie works for me. And I almost have to make it do that because otherwise I'll just be angry about it. And because I was able to come back and look at it that way, I enjoyed it even that much more.
I think if that's what he was going for, which it sounds really plausible, but I think if that's what he was going for, I think it would have been really cool, like maybe at the very beginning of the movie or sometime in the movie, maybe to allude to the fact that maybe Marie is a horror fan. Mm-hmm. And so she would have been coming up with all of this stuff. Maybe if they even like hinted at it like a tiny little bit. So then, if that makes sense, then she would be going back and thinking through all these movies that she'd seen. So maybe if they had put that in there, I could have been a lot more forgiving of all the...
Right.
Because then...
I just felt that the comparisons with some of the other movies, the most popular movies that, we're used to and stuff like that, it was just too strong to not see. So, like I said, that helped me. And then jumping back to the whole masturbation thing.
Yeah. Let's talk about masturbation again. Cool.
When she was doing that is when all of this shit went down.
Yeah.
And to me, this whole thing was not just a physical thing, it was also a sexual mindfuck.
Yeah.
Going on, so that she was not only pleasuring herself that way, but getting her to the point of, I'm going to kill a bunch of people. So to me, was it necessary? I don't know. Did it work in with what was going on inside her head? Definitely.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ruined that scene for me.
Yeah,
Damn it.
really
I just thought it was a
sorry.
masturbation scene.
Well, because she was probably thinking of, getting the head from the severed
head.
At the beginning of the movie. I had something else in my notes that oh, hey, this is a note for you, Maddy. Gratuitous nudity? Yes or no?
I mean, didn't they just have that one really quick scene?
It was her watching Alexia shower, but from the point of view, she was lower. The bathroom was up on the second level, yet you could see her from the butt up, which means that the shower was like 3 feet above the floor in the bathroom in order to see it in the window. That they had to work hard to make this happen.
Yeah, that's some shitty house planning.
Yeah.
You can just like sit in your lawn and watch people shower. Yeah. I didn't think it was that over the top to where it bothered me. And I think it kind of could my biggest thing about having nudity in a movie is if it doesn't have a place. And I think it kind of did because it just showed more of her sexual attraction to Alex. Yeah, because I think if it just showed a shot of her just sitting up in the cornfield, like looking at the house. Okay, what is she doing? So I think that kind of just tied it in a little bit better. But as I said, it was also like not even a 30-second shot. So
it was quick.
Yeah, I don't care. If she would have been running through the woods, tits going all over the place, I probably would have been like, okay, guys.
Yeah, because I agree. It probably helped with the obsession that she had with her.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, those are my notes and how I could justify it so I wouldn't just be pissed at myself for spending an hour and a half watching it.
I do want to. You said something about deja vu at the beginning, and I think I had that kind of feeling too. But when this movie came out, 2005. There was Secret Window, which came out in 2004, and then there was a movie called Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro that came out in 2005, and they all had almost the exact same plot twist where it was the main character who was actually the bad guy. So I think that what's going on over there?
We heard music all of a sudden.
Sorry, I think it was my phone.
Oh, okay.
But it was almost the exact same plot points. I know there was another movie that came out around that time where that was kind of the twist, is that the good guy was actually the bad guy.
Yeah. Kevin Spacey, Usual Suspects, was something that I compared to this movie to because Kevin Spacey told it from his point of view, and he was a killer all along and all this other stuff, and what was real, what wasn't.
When what year did that one come out?
Couldn't tell you.
That
Okay.
was the 90s. That was the
Was it
90s.
90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a little bit.
So let's give it a rating. And this time, we're going to give it 3 ratings.
Okay, you have to remind me of the ratings.
Okay,
that
the
we're
first
giving
one
it
is scare factor.
Okay. You
On
just
a
want us to
scale
go?
of 1 to 10, we're gonna do a scare factor, we're gonna do a gore factor, and then overall score.
Okay. I mean, I'll start scare wise. For me, is maybe a 4.
Okay.
4. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, not really.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4.
See, for me, I'm gonna rate it a little bit higher because I did have a few jumps in this one, but you guys had seen it before.
Yeah.
And if you rewatched it, of course, it's not going to be as scary. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Gore factor.
For gore, I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna sit around 8.
Mm-hmm.
I think 8 is fair.
Okay.
I think 4 or 5.
Ooh.
Oh shit!
God, I'd hate to see some of the movies you've seen.
Yeah.
Wow.
We will soon.
What? Yeah. One of the.
Why so low, Maddie? Like, is there just not? You've seen way more.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunately a factor.
It's not like you saw guts falling out or anything like that.
like I feel like it wasn't like just hoses of blood coming out of people, but I kind of feel like most of the gore was concentrated in like 2 separate parts, and that was kind of it. Like you had like the end scene where kind of the fight scene, and then the chainsaw, and then you had the murder masturbation massacre in the house,
right.
Fair.
where so I just felt it was just concentrated in 2 different parts, which is fine, but also I'm knocking it down because the effects for the murder house pissed me off.
That's fair.
I'm going to go about a 7 on gore factor. For me, I had read a note that they actually consulted with medical, what's the word I'm looking for? People who's medical specialists on blood sprays and stuff like that, especially when it came to the chainsaw, or not the chainsaw, because it wasn't a chainsaw. What the hell was that thing? It was a radial circular saw.
Yeah.
There was a point though in that movie where when she's hiding in the closet and she's killing the mom or whatever,
Right, yep.
it literally looks like they just took a little like spray hose and just went like that.
Oh,
on
like
the
it was a jugular vein,
Like it
spraying
was
up and
just,
stuff like that. But once again, they said they consulted people on it, so
Yeah.
I don't know. And I've never been present to an actual one, so
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
I was gonna say, why have these medical consultants?
Oh, and here's a bit of trivia as well. During the circular saw thing where the blood got all over the camera lens, that was a rented camera, and they returned it, and the next person who rented it contacted the rental place and said, we turned the camera sideways and blood came out of it.
Oh shit!
So that thing got loaded with blood.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it an overall score then. 1 to 10.
Yeah, 7. 7.
Okay.
7.
I think it's unanimous because I give it a 7. I had 6 on the gore or 7 on the gore, 6 on the scare, and I probably went from a 5 to a 7 on overall liking it just because I did more homework for myself on it. So.
Do you recommend this movie to friends?
You know what? I do.
Yeah.
This is something I would recommend.
And
Would you recommend this movie for Greg?
I would definitely recommend this one for Greg.
And, I don't relish not having been able to watch this movie in the time that we had. I'm bummed because I've been hearing a lot of things about it. Josh, you recommended a lot. And I want to check it out for sure. So I just want to find the spot where I can actually watch the not dubbed version, the actual French version, I guess. It was French, wasn't it?
The subtitle version. And people online are saying if you can watch the uncut version, that's the best one to see.
Which is what I have.
Okay.
So if you come down, Greg, I'll give it to you. If you can't find it anywhere else, I'll just hand it to you.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So I think I've done that before. So
yes, I think I still have like 7 or 8 of your movies.
That's cool. I wonder where they all went. So should we do? We did score. Should we do plugs?
Let's do plugs.
Let's do plugs. Greg, you start.
Oh man, why do I have to start?
Because we haven't heard your beautiful voice for the last 20 minutes.
That's fair. I actually said that because I was stalling so I could get my thing ready. I am Greg the Movie Guy, the best movie reviewer you have never heard of. I write movie reviews with a positive spin over at gregthemovieguy.com. Last week, I posted a special double feature of Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. I've got something special coming this week. I just don't know what it is, so stand by and be surprised. gregthemovieguy.com.
Patrick?
Yes, I've got something to say. Help us out. Make sure that you subscribe to the Midnight Frightcast. Head on over to iTunes and rate and review us. The more positive reviews and stars that we get, the higher up on the ladder we go, and we want to build our audience. So you can find us at iTunes, Google Play and Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Player FM, and many more. So send us some love. You can find the Frightcast on Twitter at mfrightcast. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Midnight Frightcast. Join us on our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Midnight Frightcast. So make sure you get out there and you share, and you share, and you share. Post it on your walls. Tell your friends. You can also check out our website, Midnight Fright Films. You can see our films on YouTube, and we're also on Twitter at mfrightfilms.
Yeah, that group on Facebook is an open discussion group. You can hop on there and talk about anything. Suggest a movie.
Suggest a movie.
That
Suggest
you want
a
us
topic.
to watch. Anything like that. Yeah, topic, anything. Get in there. Just participate, and we'll talk about it on the broadcast. We'll talk about anything. We just said masturbation for the last 5 minutes, so we'll talk about whatever. Send it all our way. We'll chat about it. The only other thing I got is this October 12th, 13th, and 14th, you should go to the Prairie Lights Film Festival in Grand Island, Nebraska at the historic Grand Theater. It is a pretty damn good time. They have filled up their lineup. They got 17 hours, I think, of films lined up. I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
17 hours of film to watch over the weekend.
Yeah, so they're working on getting all that together now. It's pretty much a celebration of Nebraska film. Yeah. All different genres. It's $10 for the whole weekend. So there's no excuse to not come out. You get vouchers for popcorn and the soda, all the discounts at all the different restaurants. You can go to the after party stuff and hang out with filmmakers that like to talk about their shit. And I definitely recommend this for people who are interested in getting into filmmaking. Come out there. If you don't know where to start, there's somebody out there that can point you in the right direction. So I definitely recommend just that weekend alone. It's a pretty damn good time, and we'll be out there. And Greg's got a movie playing out there, so come on out and hang out with filmmakers. I just got reserved my room the other night, so nice. I'm excited to get
you
going.
Have the same one as last time?
I do.
Hot tub party in Josh's room.
Yeah. So my wife never leaves that room. She's like, I'm going down there for the movies, but I'm going to go down there and relax. So, yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Maddy, you got anything to plug?
I actually do this week. This isn't totally film related, but it's local artists. My friends at Rose Garden Funeral are playing on August 19th. That's a Sunday down at the Bourbon Saloon. They start at 7. It's a $10 or $11 charge, something like that. They'll be playing with Mind Flight, Beyond the Gray, and others. I will be down there. Come buy me a drink. I'm a student. I'm poor. But yeah, it'll be a good time. So if you're looking for something to do, that's
awesome.
That.
Cool. So I guess wrapping it up, looking at Greg, the movie guy, the doctor of filmonomics. Don't you think I forgot? I did not. Patrick's been upgraded to genius after the Hight Tension review. Woo-hoo. So the genius of everything. And I'm Josh, and the voice of reasons to my left, that's Maddy. That's it for the Midnight Frightcast.
And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
Bye.